And I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.
Hey everyone, are you rad for Christ? Fired up for Jesus? Welcome back to another episode of Radical Christianity, the talk show that highlights God in action. I am Drew, your host, and I want to thank you for joining us today. Could you imagine being arrested for reading the Bible in the United States? Well, that's what happened to one Seattle pastor back in 2022. He was actually arrested twice, and it turns out that he was wrongfully arrested. What led to this conflict is when Pastor Matthew Meineke attended an abortion rally where he peacefully read his Bible aloud while passing out literature. Well, the crowd apparently disliked what he was saying so much that he was assaulted, pushed down, and even had his shoe and his Bible stolen. When he pulled out a second Bible, the hostile activists went so far as to rip the pages out. Yikes! Is this the woke crusades or what? Well, when the police showed up to restore order, did they protect the pastor from the disgraceful crowd? No. Pastor Meineke was told to leave the area because the violent protesters didn't like his content. When he declined to follow those orders, he was arrested by police. Then, 2 days later, he was mistreated again by hecklers at a pride festival and once again also arrested. It's like cancel culture with a badge. You know, I can see some people not wanting to put themselves in that type of situation, but I can respect his right to peacefully share the gospel without violence and arrest. Well, a court of appeals has ultimately determined those arrests are known as unconstitutional heckler's veto. So apparently, this is when the government allows one party's hostile reaction to suppress another speaker's message, which is an infringement of free speech by those that should be protecting it. Hey, wait a second, free speech? Technically, I'm giving you a free speech right now. This monologue doesn't cost you a thing. Although we do accept donations. Okay, hear me out, guys. Heckler's veto? Isn't heck a sugar-coated word for hell? I'm just saying. Just saying. Anyway, the judge stated the restrictions on his speech were content-based heckler vetoes, where officers curbed his speech once the audience's hostile reaction manifested. And because a loss of First Amendment freedoms constitutes an irreparable injury, the court ordered that Pastor Meineke can continue to read his Bible in public places and also ordered for monetary damages and attorney fees. Hey, speaking of those attorney fees, what's the difference between an attorney and a herd of buffalo? The attorney charges more. And what's the difference between an attorney and God? Well, God doesn't think he's an attorney. What do attorneys wear to court? Well, lawsuits, of course. All right, everyone, enough of that for now. Tell me, are you rad for Christ? You fired up for Jesus? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this first guest is an author who has a great story to share, so let's have a huge, warm welcome for Judy Moll. Judy, welcome.
Thank you.
Have a seat. So, welcome to Radical Christianity.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today.
I'm glad. So, you have written a book.
Yes.
Okay, what's the book called?
It is called Living Life on Purpose.
Living Life on Purpose.
Correct.
Okay, that's very cool. So we're gonna get to that, but we kind of have a procedure here on the show.
Okay.
Where we go testimony to mission. So
Okay.
before we start talking about your book, let's talk about how you met Jesus.
Well, actually, my father was a minister, so I was born into Christianity, you could say. I gave my heart to the Lord when I was about 10 years old, and I have always been a Christian, always involved in church, always involved in ministry throughout my whole life. So it's something that is just stuck on me.
Yeah. So were you one of those ones that backslipped when you were like in college or anything like that, or you just pretty much kept your head above the water?
There's a few times I kind of left church and kind of got into the world and did some stupid stuff and things like that. Never really drugs or alcohol or anything like that, but just bad choices.
Yeah.
And put myself in bad situations sometimes. But God has always been close to my heart. He's always been there for me 100% of the time, no matter what the choices I've made, because they're not always good. But He's always there. He's always been there for me.
Very cool. So, the book is now the title,
Yes.
right? Seems very makes me think of a purpose-driven life.
Yes, sort of that same way. The whole book is just based on different beliefs about your faith, about your Christian walk, about healing. Every chapter is a different subject. So I share some of my own life stories. I share a lot of scripture, and then just kind of my commentary on this particular situation or subject.
Okay.
And so I kind of explain it. There's like 18 chapters and then conclusion of who I am today. And
so what inspired the book? What was the big light bulb that was like, this is what God wanted you to do?
I've known since a really early age that I wanted to be a writer. I didn't really think at that time that it would be Christian. But I have a son who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. And so I wrote my first book about him, and it was called An Angel Kissed by God. And it was his story up until he was about 8 years old, about everything that God did. But it's such an awesome story that I'm writing a new book called Autism, A Mother's Prayer. And it's about our journey, which he's now 27, and he went all through high school, got nominated for a prom king, played varsity football, has been married now for 7 years. They're expecting their first child, my first grandson. Yay!
So he's on the more manageable side of the spectrum.
But when he was 10, we went to Stanford and he was tested by the psychiatric doctors there. And he still had a lot of issues related to that. But God always put people in our lives throughout his whole journey that helped us along the way. Like the head of Tulare Special Ed ended up being his study skills teacher in high school. So that really helped him. There was just always special people. Mm-hmm. But him getting nominated for prom king, which he didn't win, but that was still an honor, and playing varsity football and graduating, and all of it was just amazing.
What position did he play in football?
He played, of course, you would ask me that because I don't know. But I know that he did.
Football season.
I know that he did make the stop. So whatever, because he only played like maybe 2 or 3 plays per game.
So he was
just
on
because
the
of the
side?
anxiety. Yes.
He's on defense.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but yeah, he was the biggest cheerleader on the sidelines, high-fiving all the other guys as they came off the thing. So he really, really loved it. And now actually he's gone back and he's a JV coach for football.
Nice.
Where he went to high school. So full circle, he loved football so much. So
it's a fun game.
It is a fun game. But so he was, they tested him when he was 10, and then we went back when he was 17. And they spend about 2 or 3 hours in their tests, and then they call me in and they want to talk to me. And they said, what have you done? And they said, what treatments have you done? What diets have you done? And I said, nothing. And they said, no, this doesn't happen. You don't understand. This doesn't happen. And I said, with my God, it does. It does. It took a long time. It was a journey. But he totally, completely lost that autism diagnosis at 17.
Nice.
Yes. But they said he's so animated. He told us jokes. He made us laugh. And I'm like, it's just God. It's just God. So to me, I think the biggest thing that resonates of who I am personally is my faith. And my faith is the core of who I am. So to me, you can have cars, you can have homes, you can have kids, you can have whatever you want. You can be a millionaire. But if you don't have faith in God, what's going to happen when there's trouble?
I see it all the time. I see people struggle regularly that sometimes I'm able to talk to them about, letting it go and to God, but most people these days are so apprehensive when you bring up Jesus or God or anything like that. They have no problem with spirituality, but for some reason Christianity is terrifying to them.
Yes.
People are just they will do anything to avoid the subject of Jesus.
Yes.
And so but I do know a lot of people that need Jesus badly because they want to let go of something that's really bugging them. You know what I mean? Especially, in fact, just earlier today we were talking about things that you have control over and things you don't. It's a very huge blessing to be able to let go of the things that we have no control over and say, okay, God, you're in control of this, not me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's a huge blessing in a person's life that you get from having faith. So.
And a lot of people don't understand that part of it. A lot of people just look at the part, I have to give up control. And how do I do that? Or we say, okay, I'm going to give up control, which I can talk for myself. I'm going to give up control. I'm going to give it to you, God. And then, okay, God, you're taking too long. Let me help you. And so we do the choices and we go right back into, right back into our mess because we don't give it to God.
Right. Yeah, no, that is, we're all guilty of that.
Yes.
I mean, because God moves in his own time.
Yes.
And, we want immediate results because we're impatient.
Yes.
I mean, especially nowadays, it seems like as time continues to progress, our society gets to be even more of a fast food society.
Yes.
That term wasn't even a real term till the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fast food society thing wasn't a thing till the end of the 80s.
Right.
And then all through the 90s, it progressed a little bit. In the 2000s, it got worse. Here in 2020, it's everybody wants it now.
Yeah.
I mean, you want information, Google. You want to know the answer, Google.
Yeah,
I'm not feeling well, I'm not going to see my doctor, I'm going to Google. I mean, it's whatever it is, you are so used to having everything. The pandemic even pushed us even further.
Yeah.
Because now people shop online.
Yes.
Like crazy.
Yes.
So it's I want something, I'm going online to get it right now.
Yes.
And that was
I'm going to have it tomorrow and I don't even have to go out.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's we have gotten to a place to where as human beings we're extremely spoiled, we're extremely entitled, and we have everything at our fingertips. So we develop this thing of impatience. I wonder what happens when the children today grow up to be adults and have to face life knowing only that.
Yes. But I find that I have a granddaughter who's 22 and she does a lot of stuff online and she makes a living doing this. And so, I mean, the world, the way it is now, it still amazes me that you can post something on Facebook and all these other people all over the United States can instantly see what you posted. Mm-hmm. And I can't even imagine, what it took to think all of that up and put it into place because it's so advanced.
Yeah, well, we've actually had that technology for a long time, since the 70s.
Yeah.
But it was just that it was government technology. You know what I mean? Where the computers are just linked to each other. So that's been around for a long time. But then the onset of the personal computer, the Windows environment, that kind of thing, where people who weren't DOS people, you know what I mean? They weren't, tech heads, could actually use a computer. It became very user-friendly and very intuitive. That led to things having to change. You know what I mean? And then it opened up opportunities for, having a World Wide Web that was commercially available to everybody.
Yes. Yeah. So actually, my mom really encouraged me to write the first book, which was the one about my son. She said because you need to share hope. You need to share that there is another way, that there is faith and there is God, and getting God involved. And so that's kind of what started it. And then I just kind of went from there. So I'm currently writing 3 other books, which is really a lot of fun.
All at the same time.
All at the same time.
You couldn't you just decide to do one and then the other?
No, God decided. I didn't have anything to do with it. And so it's really interesting because I'm writing one about God heals the broken heart. And it's all the stories of my life and stuff I've experienced that broke my heart. And then I have another one that's Create the Life You Want. And it's kind of a comical little light book, you know, just fun. And then the one about the autism and mother's prayer. So I'm currently writing all three of those. I'm in the process of getting the other one published right now, though. So
do you have a publisher that you normally work with?
I'm actually doing it through Amazon this time.
Okay.
I'm so
self-published?
Yeah. But, well, I mean, they do it all, though.
Right.
Yeah.
You just give them the manuscript.
I just give them the manuscript and they do it all.
Right.
And then I just approve everything they do. Yeah. And then it goes on there and it's an ebook instantly and it's print. It can be hardback, paperback.
Print on demand, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Amazon's really good at that. It's for a writer. It's actually very effective, and I know a lot of people that write romance novels and publish them through Amazon like crazy. You know, because I mean, you know, they'll sell little dollar novels. You know, like 50 to 100 a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just selling them. Yeah.
And there's websites that you can go on with a ghostwriter, and it's like almost like AI writes the book for you. Because they said, I've contacted a lot of publishers, and they're like, oh, is it finished? And I'm like, not yet. I know, I'm still working on it. And they say, well, we can finish it for you. We have ghostwriters. And I'm like, no, that's not the point.
Right.
The point is I have a message. And as long as God keeps giving me more to that message, then... At the very end, just before publishing, the last chapter that I wrote was Strongholds and Addiction. And it's just about all different kinds of addictions and how God feels about that and how God can love you even through that. You know, a lot of scriptures. And so I really think it's a powerful chapter. I like all of them. But I mean, each one, God kind of says, okay, this is what you're going to do next. And so I just keep writing until he stops and says, okay, you're done. But this one.
That's a productive approach.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first book was about your son. The second book was the one that was the purpose. Okay, and then the third one of the three that you're working on now, is another one about your son. Right?
Well, it's about autism, period. But yeah, it's mainly geared for moms, what moms are going through. But yeah, it will tell his full story. And a couple of other people that I know that I've been close to tell their children's stories. So, but it's just going to be inspiration. You know, moms are really, I have a ministry too, and it's called Women of Faith Ministry.
Okay.
And the whole purpose of my starting this ministry was to help to heal women. Women in today's society, it's hard. It's hard to juggle a job, juggle kids, daycare, the house, the laundry, the shopping, you know. It's hard. And a lot of women I've talked to and mentored, they're like, I feel bad because there's days I don't want to be a mom. And I'm like, I've been there. You know, just like it's too much. It's overwhelming. I need a break. There's nothing wrong with that. They're like, yeah, but sometimes I lose my temper with my kids. And I'm like, it's okay. I get it. You know, you have to step away. You have to take some time in prayer, you know, and let God calm you down. But God's always there. All you have to do is ask for strength or understanding. I mean, I constantly prayed, God, give me wisdom on how to take care of this child. Because everything I knew from my older two, none of those things worked with the child with autism. Because they have to have everything with a routine and everything has to be a certain way. And so it's really difficult. But I think women get so hurt by other women or by their husbands, you know, or relationships, can be even their siblings. My siblings didn't understand what I was going through with my child. They kept saying, he's spoiled. No, he's not. He has a problem. But that used to be the way everyone looked at it. Right. You know, 20 years ago, that's how everyone looked at it. Right. Like, oh, he's just spoiled. He's controlling you.
It's amazing how the movie Rain Man actually introduced autism to the general society. I think about how, like, no one really knew much about autism before that.
Right.
And then like everybody, oh, you mean like Rain Man? I'm like, well, that's an extreme.
Yes. But he actually had Asperger's, which is a very high functioning, very high IQ it's a child that just gets fixated on things. But yeah, I mean, there's ones that can look at a picture and then draw it, I mean, exactly the same over just looking at it a couple of times. So they have those, but I mean, then there's the regular spectrum, of everybody that deals with, different, like with my son, I said, I think that all of our senses for us is normal, but for an autistic child, every one of those is exaggerated. So the noise is exaggerated, light is exaggerated, their feeling, their touch, all of those things are exaggerated. And it's constant irritation in a lot of ways. So, but I have a lot of practical experience, things that helped my child, and also these other mothers that I'm talking to about what helped their children as well. So I'm really excited about that book too. But that one I think is probably going to be the last one I finish. Because it's the most latest one I just started.
Oh, okay.
So I want to get the other ones out. And
so you only have 2 books out so far?
yes.
Okay. And where can someone find those books if they're looking for them?
On my website, they're on there.
Okay, what's your website?
It is womenoffaithministry.com. I'm so sorry. I don't know why my throat is being silly.
Because you're on TV.
Yes. So sorry.
So it's
womenoffaithministry.com.
.com. Okay.
Yes.
That's easy to remember.
Yes, and everything will be on there. Once the other ones are published, they'll also be out there too. Okay. And they'll be on Amazon.
Okay,
they're on Amazon
too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have like workbooks that go with your books or anything like that for people who want to do a study with them or anything?
No. I think it's just something that you can pick up and read whenever you have time. So it's not every chapter's not continued on the prior one. So every chapter stands alone. So you can put it down, pick it up, have it on your bedside.
So what would you say? Let's talk about the 2 books. The Purpose book first. What's the title of that one again?
Living Life on Purpose.
Living Life on Purpose. Okay, I'm sorry with...
No, you're fine. You're fine.
It's been a long day. Living Life on Purpose. What was the motivation behind that book, and what do you want people to have as a takeaway?
I'll tell you a little story.
Okay.
My dad was a minister, and my dad, we grew up in church. I was in church all the time. And I saw my dad lay his hands on people, and people were healed. And, like cancer, tumors, all different kinds of things. They even prayed for somebody who, with a toothache, and that tooth fell out and he grew a new one. So, I mean, they had so many miracles of stuff that I heard when I was a child. And so when my dad passed, I kept saying to God, I want my dad's mantle. I want you to pass that mantle to me. I want to be able to touch people and then be healed. Not because of me or not anything I do, but just as a vessel. And so I got really impatient with God, and I would keep reminding God that I had asked for that. And I felt like it's not coming. I mean, I prayed for people. I've always prayed for people. But it just felt like it wasn't coming. And then I was being prayed over one day at church, and God showed me, if you've ever watched Walt Disney movies, at the end of some of those movies, you're going to see a hand, and the hand writes, and you see all this pixie dust. And God showed me that. And I said, okay, what is this? And he said, you have that mantle, but it's different because you're going to do it with writing. And I think that was what really pushed me to write, is because I feel like sharing my stories, sharing my testimony, sharing things that God's revealed to me, and sharing scriptures will help other people. I think that them reading the books will help them, and God will be able to heal them through reading the books. So that's really my motivation. And whenever he has me start a new one, who knows, somebody I'll write. But I'll just keep going. And until he says, okay, this book's finished, publish it. But that's the whole goal. Is my goal is healing. Through the words, through the scriptures, write them down, reread the chapter, and just try to open God's word to people so that they can see it in real life and how it's applied to their struggles and what they're going through.
Okay. So is there a specific takeaway for living life on purpose that you would want people to, like, if they read it, what they definitely, recall from it more than anything else?
I think throughout my life, I've always heard people go, I don't know what my purpose is. What is my purpose? What is my reason for being here? Because we all have a purpose. Number one, we're all called to be disciples, of course. We're all called to share the good news, with others. But everybody says, I don't know how to know. And I'm like, I ask God, but God's not telling me. And so the end of the book, the last chapter, is called According to His Purpose. And it's just an understanding of how you find out what your purpose is. Because I believe that your purpose is already a gift and it's already established in you. And it's something that you're going to love to do. So I don't really feel a lot of preachers will say, I never wanted this. But that was your purpose, and you knew probably from a really young age that was your purpose, that you had that call, that you may not like to get up and stand in front of people and preach, but you have that call to be that shepherd. It's actually, even if it's in the street.
It's amazing how many preachers say that very thing. It's like, I
do.
did not want to be a preacher. I wanted to be this.
Yes.
And it's like God had different plans for me.
But I can explain that because God doesn't want us to be able to do anything on our own without Him. So it has to be something you're uncomfortable with at some point. But I still believe that understanding your purpose, ask God to reveal it to you, but it's going to be with something that you already have a gift at or something you really feel passionate about. And that's what's going to be driving you. And so the book is Living Life on Purpose. That means make meaning out of your life. Let your life be a purpose. Every day when you get up, what is my purpose for today? Can I reach someone? Can I touch someone? Can I pray for someone? Can I, it's not about, okay, well, I'm going to get up and drop the kids off and go to work and then I got to go to the grocery store and it's not about that. We get so focused on life that we miss so much of how we can be used by God and touch other people. One of my friends asked me one time, she said, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want, after you're gone, what do you want people to say about you? And this is not in a conceited way because I'm not conceited at all. But I want people to say, you know what? She touched me. She prayed for me. She set me in a new direction. She showed me that God really loves me. She showed me what you're supposed to look like when you're a Christian. And that's my legacy. That's what I want people to remember me by, is that she spoke over me. When everybody else was speaking down to me, she spoke over me. She gave me a hug. I used to work in a women's shelter, and I really felt like I've been in so many ministries, but I really loved that one because I would do the graveyard shift and I would get up with the women in the morning and they would be eating breakfast and I would always do a devotional. And I was always saying, do any of you need prayer? Can I pray for you today? Like, what do you need? And they're like, yeah, can you pray for this? I have court, or, I'm looking for a job or something. And I'm like, yeah, I can pray. And so a lot of times they would come in and they would walk in the office and like, yay, Judy's here, because that was my ministry. My ministry has always been prayer and just trying to connect people with God because He loves us so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, connecting people with God is really important because we really have no control over anything. It's funny how I get amused because for the longest time I thought so even that when people think they can control stuff, even the stuff they think they have control over, it's that control can be taken away from you in a second.
Yes. Yes.
And it's not like you really have control. You're just steering like a car.
Right.
All of us how many people are on the road right now, right? And they think they have control of their situation. Right. And the truth of the matter is they're just steering a death machine.
Yep.
And hopefully they're not going to die.
Right.
Anything could happen. A person, way out of the way could just lose control or be drunk or fall asleep or die at the wheel.
Yes.
And, something completely out of your control, you can't even stop it from happening because you can't see it coming. It's just, it's just one of those things that is why we have faith.
Right. And we really have no control. And one of the things, the book, Create the Life You Want, all of that is about you do have control. You have control of your thoughts, your actions, your words. Those are the things that you have control over. You can't control anything else in life.
Yeah, all thing we have control over is our choices.
Yes. And that's it right there, is how am I going to live today? And I'm like, you have the power to create the life that you want, though. It's if you're not happy in a job, or you're not fulfilled in a job, or you've always dreamed of working for a nonprofit, or being in ministry, or being in counseling. I love when my friends go, I'm interviewing for this job. Will you pray for me? Like, this is my dream job. Because I feel like life should be exciting. Yeah, the world is horrible, but life should be exciting because you have God. You have God on your side. You have God giving you favor. You have God giving you blessings. And you get to share that with other people that are dying and hurting. How can that not be exciting to share?
It's always exciting to see God in action.
Yes.
I'm always overjoyed, sometimes brought to tears when I see God moving. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So in 2018, I started having heart problems, and I ended up having 2 stents. And after that, I developed a blockage in a tiny artery inside my heart. And for 4 years, that made me sick, and I had chest pains. And 2 different doctors tried to clear it, and they weren't able to. 4.5 years. And then my doctor went in through my wrist, and God directed it, and he was able to open that. And all of that pain and all of that stuff that I endured was gone. And so, yeah, I still have the title, coronary artery disease, but I've retested for 3.5 years, and there's nothing wrong with me. Nothing.
Well, that's a blessing and a half.
Yeah. So, I've seen healing in my son. I've experienced healing myself physically, mentally, emotionally, going through divorce, and stuff. So, God has always been there with me, and he's always there with you, and he's always there with everyone. But all you have to do is just plug into it. Right. He loves you. He wants to help you. He wants to support you. He wants to be your best friend. That's what he wants.
Yes, that's basically why there's Jesus.
Yes, yes. But a lot of people, I don't really think they understand the depth of Jesus's love for us.
I would agree that most people don't understand the depth because they don't want to do the effort to understand the depth. And other people are afraid of what that understanding will mean in their life.
Yes.
I have seen that probably the most, is people mostly reject Jesus because what that means.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yes. A lot of people have, there are some people that just have a whole, bad experience with somebody representing Jesus incorrectly.
Yes.
Yes. And then they're just turned off because that was, overwhelming for them. And other people, don't open their ears or heart to the message of Jesus.
Yes.
Because of street preachers or other overbearing something else.
Yes.
Someone coming, Jehovah's Witnesses at the door,
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Something like that has gotten in the way of the message of love that is Jesus Christ. So
yes.
It's the message is so simple. It's like God wanted to have a relationship with us, so he spent an entire 5-6 millennia developing the Jewish people.
Yes.
So that they could, bring Jesus forward. Prepare them, and then now that Jesus is here, it's a whole new covenant, and we now can have a one-on-one with God.
Yes.
And it blows my mind how many people today don't realize that the existence of Jesus in this world has revolutionized opportunity, understanding, motivation, social behavior, morality. These things have changed for like social norms across the planet because of Jesus. And it's been so long that they've been like that people just think, oh, that's just how it always was, you know?
But people don't, I mean, I was raised, and I really believe that I was raised with all the rules of religion. And so it took me a long time to adapt to like be out in the world and understand what the world, because I thought all the bad people were already in prison. I didn't know that there were bad people that run around the same city where you live. You know, I was kind of like really naive and stuff, but you know, I know that God has always been there through the years with me, and no matter what I faced, he's always been there. And a lot of people, they say, oh, you know, I go to church on Sunday. Oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I go to church on Sunday morning. Okay, do you read your Bible? No, I go to church. They tell me what the Bible says, you know. And I think a lot of people get stuck on the rules of religion, and they don't understand that it's a relationship. And once it's just like building any other relationship. If you fall in love with someone, you want to be with that person, you want to spend time with them, you want to learn more about them. And that's the relationship that he wants from us.
Yeah, except there's always one thing to remember. If people have issues with themselves, they're not really ready to try and have a relationship with the Creator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's people throw up walls. They can't have relationships. They can't have true, healthy relationships with another person.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the only way to do that is to acknowledge that there's, I mean, you know, that there's something greater than you, you know, I mean, and the Creator of the universe, you know, is just going to sit there and let us walk into holes if we're going to be that neglectful, you know. But if we try to have a relationship with God and trust that he's going to guide our lives the way he has designed it to go, then, you know, we just, you know, move forward on that trust. So it is sometimes very challenging to walk fully in faith.
Yes.
It's also confusing because you will have a spectrum of people in faith.
Yes.
Some that are overbearing, that have, oh, well, you know, if your life isn't perfect, that means you got some sin you have to deal with.
Right,
and it's like,
right.
What? Where's that in the Bible? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, then there'll be people that are like, you know, oh, well, you know, God's just, you know, on the mantle for Sundays, you know? And I mean, you know, you have that whole spectrum of people. And the truth of the matter is, it's not my place to say where any of them are at. It's between them and God. It's not my business.
Yes. But I think that, I hope that people eventually, with everything the way the world is going, and they see, I hope that a lot more people will turn to God and really say, you know, with this election, I'm not a political person, but with this election, we need to really be praying for wisdom on what we want to vote for and what we want to stand for, because everything is crazy right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you have your nose in the Bible, a Christian's voting on this should be pretty clear. I'm not going to make a political stance, but what a Christian should be voting for should be clear.
Yeah.
But most people are easily deceived by the enemy. And the enemy is the father of lies.
Yes.
So, you know, and people are still flawed. They're still human. They still have hate and bitterness and things inside them that are going to bubble up. So, you know, when it comes to election season, most people just need to, you know, put their eyes on Jesus and, you know, realize that their one vote isn't going to make a difference on a national scale. And they should, you know, more focus on a local situation.
Yes.
I mean, because, you know, the truth of the matter is, you know, even most of the things that happen in this country, the national scale doesn't happen until the state scale happens.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then the state scale doesn't happen until the localities push the state to do it. So, I mean, really, everybody should be worried about their own backyard instead of, you know, things that they can't control.
Right.
But national politics is far more entertaining.
It's very entertaining right now. Yes, very entertaining.
Well, we are out of time.
Okay.
But thank you so much for coming, Judy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we're going to put your website and the links for your books. We'll try to get those out there for people to get their hands on.
That would be great.
And thank you so much. And when you finish your other 3 books,
yes,
we'll have to have you back to talk about those.
That will be amazing.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Well, God bless you. We have a saying here in Radical Christianity.
Okay.
And that is, you are definitely rad for Christ.
Yes.
You're definitely fired up for Jesus. And we love to see that here.
Yes.
God bless you.
God bless you.
It's housekeeping time. Yes, housekeeping time is the time that I sit here and awkwardly talk to you about how radical Christianity is dependent on funds from viewers just like you to help us keep this show going. So if you have $5, $10, $15, $20, $100, whatever it is that God puts on your heart to share with this show, please, we could really use that help. All you got to do is go to our website, radforchrist.com. That's RAD, Christ.com. And then at the top there in the navigation, there is a donate link. You click that donate link and it takes you to the Mr. E Christian Media donation page. You just drop down and select Radical Christianity and then put in the value that God has put on your heart and then hit that submit button. And then those funds will come to us. And Mr. E Christian Media is the nonprofit that Radical Christianity operates within, and it is a 501c3, which means that your donation will be tax deductible. If you don't have money to give, that is perfectly fine. There's other ways that you can help. You can share this show on social media. You can tell a friend. You can tell a family member. You can make your mother sit down and watch it with you. Whatever. And if that's not your cup of tea or something that you can do, you can also help us by praying for the show, praying for the people on the show, praying for our staff, and so forth. We really would appreciate any of those gestures of help. And I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and God bless you. On with the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a great interview for you coming up here from Cornerstone Church. Let's have a huge, warm welcome for Pastor Jim Franklin. Ladies and gentlemen, this next guest is a good friend of mine. He is a returning guest, so let's have a huge, warm welcome for Bill Emery. Woo! Bill, how you doing? How you doing? Good to see you. Welcome back.
It's always happy. It's always nice to be back.
So, Bill.
Yes?
It's great to have you back on Radical Christianity.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's one of my favorite shows.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, last time you were here, we talked about how you were the historian at your church.
Correct.
And then, like, a few episodes after that, we actually went to your church, hung out with your pastor,
Right.
and we actually got to peek at some of the history stuff. It didn't really make it to the episode, but we got to look through the little book that was put together and some of the cool stuff. And
For the 100th?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. So I'm sure you caught that episode.
Yes, I did.
Well, you better have. We talked about you. So,
Yeah, I know you did. It wasn't good.
so what's new?
Not really a whole lot. We're hanging in there, getting ready for some events up at Castle Air Museum.
Yeah.
And then in November, going in for the second knee replacement. So, yeah.
Yikes. Yeah,
it's
we'll
always a
remember to
fun
pray
one.
for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Well, the first knee replacement worked out.
Yeah, first one went real well. It's the surgery. I always say the surgeries go great. It's the recovery that takes a long time.
Right.
But once you get past that third week, things begin to turn around, and things get better. So, and then it just progressively gets better, providing you do everything that they tell you and don't do anything completely stupid.
Completely stupid?
Yeah, exactly.
Partially stupid is going to get you through.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely stupid, that's the disaster.
Yeah, more trips to the physical therapist.
Yeah, well, full disclosure, I volunteer at Castle Air Museum and go help out with, your YouTube channel,
Yep.
and we hang out at your at the F-15, which
At
is
the
the jet that
F-16.
you crew chief on.
Yeah, the F-16
F-16
for the third year.
Yeah, it's
okay. You're a little slow.
It's right next to the F-15.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. but it's not as nice.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's the Viper. It's the Viper.
It's the Viper, right?
And it's a pretty jet. So what's God been doing in your life?
You know what? He's been doing quite a bit, actually. We started back up with Sunday school at Biola. We had a long summer break, and so we got that re-energizing. We have a full class and of men, and ranging from my son at 18 all the way through guys that are in their late 60s. So you get a pretty large demographic in terms of age-wise, and they all learn from each other, which is really, really nice. But watching God work through my son, and he started college this year, and going into drafting and drawing. So he wants to go to work for Pixar, which is good. He'll make a lot of money, and then he can support me for a change.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. But no, he's been doing great, and I can tell that God has been really moving with him, and it's just a pleasure to watch. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, as your church historian,
All right.
what kind of huge responsibilities are happening these days?
You know what? On the historian side, since we got the 100th anniversary out of the way, not really a lot. But my job as a historian is, if we have an artifact that comes in, say somebody brought something, which did happen here about 6 months ago. A man brought a Bible, and it was in German, which is what the church services were in back in the day, from the beginning all the way to about the late 50s, early 60s. And it was stored in a man's house there at Biola, and he was a white man that had not moved out onto the ranch. He decided to stay there in Biola and just farm, from the shed that he built. And anyway, he had died, and so they brought the Bible out to the church, and sure enough, it was given to him by one of our old ministers back in the 50s. He didn't understand English, he only understood German. And so he kept it all those years. And then when he died, his kids found it and kind of had a hint that it may have came from Biola. And so they brought it out, and Pastor Tim called me, and I went out and looked at it, and sure enough, it fits right in where the pulpit is, the elevated pulpit. There's a spot in there just above the lectern, and it fit right in there, and that's where that Bible belongs. So it actually came back to the same spot there where it was removed 60 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So what you do is, when you have a historical artifact like that, you assess it, and you photograph it, you document it, who gave it to you, their name, address, telephone number, the condition of it, take photos, and then you put it either in the library, if it's a book. If it's a photograph, you can either put it into storage, or you can put it up somewhere in the church. And we find a lot of photographs come to us by people who have passed away. And what's really strange is that we don't have a lot of photographs from the 1920s and 30s and even into the 40s, because cameras were basically a luxury.
Right.
German farmers just couldn't afford them. And so they would have, if they did have photos, they would have a professional service come out to the church and take photos. But
right.
Majority of the photos that we do have were taken that way. Not very many farmers, took photos, especially of the church. There's one photo that we are really trying to find, and that was a full photo of the original parsonage, which was built behind the sanctuary. So when you were there, you saw the big parking lot behind the sanctuary.
Right.
Well, that's where the original parsonage was built. And then the breezeway that was next to pastor's office, well, that was actually the driveway that went into the parsonage.
Okay.
But we do not have a photo of that original parsonage. And so it's kind of like the holy grail of photos for Biola, trying to find it. And but it has allured us for decades.
So I have a question for the church historian.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a drawing in the foyer there of the church.
Right.
Okay. But it seems to have the new building on the back of it.
Right.
So it's like partially new and partially old.
Yes.
So what's the story behind that drawing? Because we couldn't figure it out when we were there.
Well,
and then you got to tell Pastor Tim so he knows.
Yeah.
Then he gets asked next time.
The Sunday school rooms were built in the early 60s. And the old prayer house, which is where basically Sunday school was held, that was moved over to the Sawwassers Ranch. And then they built the Sunday school rooms that you saw, that we have today. And that was built in the 60s. The new parsonage was built across the parking lot from that in the early 60s kind of as well. So the old parsonage was still there. They had not torn it down yet. So it was kind of one of those deals where the drawing was done from across the street in a kind of a in-between phase. So that's why you see a little bit of the old parsonage in the back, but then you see the new Sunday school rooms.
Oh, okay.
So that's where that kind of came, to be. He just happened to catch it within that 1 or year and a half time period, Right?
I see. Okay. And we were wondering, okay, well, that's not the new event room.
No. And then because we tore the parsonage down later on in the late 60s, we were able to build the social hall.
Right. Which was pretty neat. That kitchen and that social hall, that kitchen is amazing.
The original plan for that was we were going to have our own school. And it was going to be first through 6th grade and with a nursery. And the nursery is still there. We haven't, it's not practicing because we don't have any babies within the congregation right now. But that was the original idea. And so, but to do that, you legally had to have two bathrooms, two boys and 2 girls. But then you have to have a way of feeding the kids. And that's why that industrial kitchen was put in. And then the social hall would be where they would have their activities. And then the one thing that you didn't see in your video was when you go out the back, we have the cover and then we have the basketball courts. And all that was installed with the idea of having a school, a Christian school there.
The covered tables and
Correct. Yeah. Which 100% of the grammar schools have today.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other problem was that they had way back when they were originally cited, or the thought that they had to do that was they had no way of paying the teachers. And so it was going to be kind of it just basically fell through. The problem was they built all the infrastructure. And so they decided to use the rooms just as Sunday school rooms. Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing stopping them from at some point using the infrastructure again for maybe a preschool or something like that. But.
You know what? At this stage of the game, I don't think that would go. If we decided to ever kind of give up the ghost and sell the church and a new church moved in, yeah, they could probably do that.
Yeah.
But, got to remember that the church is 100 years old. It's 103. And the newest structure is 60 years old, 65 years old. So there'd be a lot of improvements that would have to.
Yeah. Well, you guys can't sell that church.
No,
that thing is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, the trip up to the Belfry was cool.
Yeah, the one picture, though, that the cameraman didn't take was out from the Belfry, the bell tower. You know, he didn't see the
view.
Yeah, all there was you, Pastor, and the bell. You know, but he didn't turn the camera around to see what it was like, 60 feet in the air. Because when you guys were there, everything was within bloom.
Right. It was nice. It was warm, but it was actually cool up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So, but we're having a little issues with the bell tower now. We got some leaks that we're still trying to come up with, but it's 100 years old.
Right.
And so we expected that. The other thing is the rain gutters. When they built those gutters, those gutters were made of wood, and they coated them with an extremely durable coating that lasted all the way up to probably the last 5 or 6 years. And so we're going to have to replace those. But to replace those, period correct, it's about $75,000 to do that.
You can't just recoat them?
No, because they've split.
Ah.
Yeah, we had some pretty massive winters, and it just kind of took its toll on them. And so we're debating now to whether go back to period correct or go with a modern gutter, which would be about a third of the cost.
Yeah, could you modify it somehow? Like maybe it's split, and maybe you could just lay something in the middle to hold it together, and then.
No, it's either one or the other.
Yeah.
But the church really isn't original to begin with. If it was, we'd be sitting on wooden pews and we'd have hardwood floors.
Right.
But we don't do that.
The pews were wood. They just had pads.
Yeah, exactly. We've modernized the church to a certain extent. So it's not really original to begin with. So as a historian, I told them, look, let's just go with a modern gutter. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to shred the water a whole lot better. And there's an awful lot of water which comes off those rooftops because they're just so pitched.
Right.
And the man who designed it was German, and it's basically the same architecture that you see in a lot of German churches back in the old country.
Right, and it was based off of the mother church, which isn't standing anymore. So,
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was here in Fresno somewhere.
Well, the cross church I think that's what you're referring to.
Right.
It's still standing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's over on
the same design. I thought that it would.
Oh yeah. If you're going south on 99 or south on 41, and you make the turn onto 99 southbound, it's right there on your right hand side. It's probably a third larger than what Biola is, but if you look at it, it's the same architecture because it was designed by the same guy.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's awesome. I do love that church building. It's really. I mean, it's small and cozy. And so, how packed out is it on a Sunday?
We average about 60 to 80. Our congregation has. It's starting to time out. The third generation Biola member is we're starting to lose them a little bit. They're in their 80s, low 90s. And that's to be expected. And a church like that's very traditional doesn't draw young people. And I think a lot of us that have been going there go there because we've always have gone there. It's the only church that we really know. So,
right.
But I see eventually one day that it's going to be unsustainable.
I mean, there's a lot of people living in that area.
Yeah, but the demographics just aren't there.
Right.
The city or the town of Biola or the village of Biola is 95% Hispanic, and they go to the Catholic Church, and it's mainly white farmers, white teachers, and other people like me who were in other, occupations. But so it teeters,
But it's not
on that
a
all the time.
racial thing. I mean, it's just that it's just traditionally German church.
Yeah, exactly. But see, Biola was a white German town full of farmers.
Right.
And then they realize, oh, hey, I can build a house out on the ranch, and I don't have to drive, 10 miles to go to work every day. I can just step out my back door, and there's the tractor. When they did that, they all moved out. And then the Hispanic culture moved in. And then they built the Catholic Church, there. And it's definitely not a racial thing. It's just, that's just the way that it ended up. And then the people that are there now are the descendants of the people who built the church.
Right.
And so that tradition just never seemed to, it continued, which was okay. Which was okay. I remember when my wife and I started dating, she was probably one of the one or two Hispanics that actually went there.
Yeah.
But it's just the way that it fell out.
Right.
And the farmers' families still go there.
And you guys had a Hispanic church there for a while. Because we had Ernie Panuna on here, and he was the youth pastor there.
Yes. Yeah. And that worked out pretty good. We really enjoyed having them, and you never even knew they were there. Never even knew they were there. They very respectful, and we basically told them that this is your church, treat it as such, and they did. They were outstanding people to partner up with, and then he got a job in town for his own church,
right?
And then so he quit that position, and then there was nobody to backfill him.
Right, and Ernie is now doing Encounter Church.
Right.
So, yeah. So they moved on to other churches.
Exactly. Yeah. So that program just kind of fell by the wayside.
Right.
Right.
Well, I think God has something in store for that church. I mean, it's a beautiful location. It's an amazing little church. That kitchen, I look at that kitchen, I'm like,
yeah.
That's something to work with right there.
Yeah, well, it's all stainless steel and natural gas stoves. Don't tell Gavin Newsom. And but yeah, it was designed as an industrial kitchen, not something that you'd have at your house or something. So.
Right.
But we do feed the congregation, we have picnics and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to let me know the next time those women are making bierox and other, strudel and...
Oh, yeah. Vrenniks and all that.
Yes, yeah. I need to come and sample some of that amazing German traditional cuisine.
It's it's something that I grew up with because, my grandparents, they came from the same village that a lot of the guys came from, who built the church. And so so I was I was astute growing up, with German food. And, but nice thing about German food, they don't eat anything they can't shove into an animal casing, so, yeah. But no, it's good.
There's a lot of things you can shovel into an animal casing.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that and a lot of ketchup.
Yeah. So Castle Emery Museum, where you work, has some events coming up.
Yes.
It has the Bombs Away Car Show.
Yeah, with the Bombs Away Car Show. The Bombs Away Car Show is going to be on the 19th of October. Mm-hmm. It's not at the museum. It's on the flight line of the old Castle Air Force Base. And that's on the 19th. And then we have Open Cockpit Day coming up here in about 3 weeks on the 5th of October.
Is it the 5th of October? Okay,
yep,
yeah.
5th of October. So, it's going to be good. It's one of our biggest fundraisers. We have them twice a year. And we're looking forward to having everybody come out. And it really helps us get us through the wintertime. We don't have, we're not government, subsidized or anything of that nature. So we're 501c3 organization, and so we rely strictly on donations to keep the museum, going. And it takes a lot to pay the staff that we do have, and keep 80 airplanes going. Not to mention, we have 6 of them that are in restoration right now.
Now, I know that Castle Museum is not a faith-based nonprofit, but it
Correct.
seems like just about everybody who takes their life into a jet seems to be kind of faith-based.
Well, yeah, it's a pretty good idea that you know Christ, when you do that. Yeah. No, we're a family organization, and so we're very self-conscious about that. But the board of directors, majority of them are Christian guys and gals, and so we run it the way that we feel that the Lord would want us to do that. General Garrison, who's been on your show, he's the head honcho right now, and
I like Clay a lot.
Yeah, he is a great guy, and he runs it based on biblical principles, which there was a few that didn't run it on biblical principles, so it's taken them a while to get used to his management style, but that's okay. And but yeah, we're doing okay. We're doing all right.
Yeah.
We have some challenges, but that's okay, because God puts you in those challenges, so you rely on Him so you can get through the other side, and you can look back and go, hey, look what God did for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, how could you be somebody flying a jet, get up to, that high a level where you can see the horizon and everything, and not realize, the power and glory of God? I mean, it would be kind of hard to equate that.
Yeah, whenever I did, whenever I got, some rides up there, you look at it and you just see the beauty of what God made. There's, when you're in an airliner, it's really hard to do that, because you really can't see a lot outside of, the window, if you're lucky to get a window seat. But when you're in a fighter plane, you have a bubble canopy, and so you get basically a nice, 180-degree view. And so you can really see, what God has made. He put a lot of thought into this planet. And when you're up at that altitude, you can actually see. And you every time I would land, I would walk away and I go, yeah, God knew what He was doing, and He was an artist and a craftsman, still is. He's ever expanding the universe. So, but what He did here on Earth, you could definitely, the Earth has His fingerprint on it, off of it, and you can tell that.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. So there are going to be helicopter rides again this year.
Yes, Richard Amzini's coming back for his helicopter.
That was
service.
a fun little trip.
Yeah, he's going to bring the Bell Jet Ranger, and so.
What other things are going to be real cool at the open cockpit? You
know what? I'm going to be real honest with you about it. I don't know, because I am not on the event side. I'm on the aircraft side, so I haven't really heard. But I did hear that we're going to have a tethered balloon that's going to go up, I think, 100 feet, and then come down. That's going to be on the other side, over by where the SR-71 and the presidential airplane is. Yeah.
So when are they going to take people for jet rides?
Never. Now, on that note, Clay is going to bring the T6 Texan, and you will be able to get a ride. It's $600 and be up for about 30 minutes in a World War II trainer airplane. Nice. And he'll have that over on the flight line.
And what happens if they have to clean up the lunch from that person?
Well, the thing about him, he doesn't want to make you puke, So it's just basically you're going to fly kind of in airliner mode and just kind of enjoy the scenery.
It's wise. It would be difficult to clean that up.
Yeah, but to go ahead and to have the privilege to fly in a T6, they're a lot of fun. I think I got 3 rides in a T6, and they're really a lot of fun. to be able to get in. And you slide the canopy back, and you can it's kind of an open air type of scenario. And $600 is really a reasonable amount of money for a 30-minute ride.
Right. Well, I mean, the fuel is going to be kind of expensive. But
It costs probably about $150, $160 an hour to run the airplane.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then, most of that money will probably just go to the museum, right? So.
Yeah, he's going to do a kickback kind of thing, for the museum, as well as Ambrosini does the same thing with the helicopters. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Bill, thank you for coming and sitting down and updating us with the history of the church and what's going on. Yeah. And, it's like that was a great thing. I'm glad you suggested we go check out the church.
Well, I'm glad you went. It's out in the middle of nowhere. I always tell people the only reason you come to Biola Church is if you're lost or you're invited. Because nobody comes just walking in, so because of just where it's at. But it is a great, if you're looking for a traditional church service with a choir, out of the hymnal, reading out of the Bible, and not the Book of Confucius or anything like that, then we're the church that you want to attend, and especially if you want something very small, but it's been around 103 years, so.
And Biola is not that far out there. I mean,
it's 7 miles past 99.
Yeah.
They're going out west on Shaw Avenue.
I mean, it's literally a 10-minute drive from Shaw 99. Yeah. Yeah, if even less, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's not that far.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that live out in that part of town that are not, Mexican farmers. You know what I mean? So
no,
I mean there's a lot. I mean, so it's I think they're just not aware of what's available to them.
Well, farming or people want nowadays. People want to go to a place and have a lot of things at their fingertips. They want youth programs. They want different things, for their kids. They want men's Bible studies, women's Bible studies, and all these other kinds of things. And unfortunately, when you're the size of what we are, we don't offer a lot of those things. And so we do get passed up, and so people go other places. And I can understand that, but you just have to kind of ride those kind of things out. We've been in these boats before.
But you guys have a belfry.
Oh yeah. We got which rings every Sunday, and it rings on Christmas Eve, and it rings on New Year's Eve at midnight. Yeah. So, but no, it's people when they walk into the sanctuary, they can't believe that it's 103 years old.
It's a beautiful sanctuary.
Yeah, it
really is,
and it's even better at Christmas time. After Thanksgiving, the ladies come in and they decorate, and it's better than Disneyland. That's all I can tell you. It's better than
Disneyland's pretty good at Christmas time.
It's better than Disneyland during the, we get that.
That's a bold statement.
It is. We get that 19-foot Paul Bunyan tree out there, and the ladies decorate it, and we have to bring in a scaffolding, and all that. Oh, yeah. But it's good. Yeah. It's a good place to go.
Well, thanks again, Bill, for coming.
Not a problem.
Yeah, you're definitely rad for Christ. You're definitely fired up for Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
And you're also a good friend of mine, which I appreciate.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem.
So God bless you, brother.
Thank God bless you. And we hope this ministry continues.
Well, we just do what God wants to do.
Yep,
so.
Exactly right.
All right. Cool. Mm-hmm. We'll end there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of Radical Christianity. So pleased that you decided to join us this episode. Hey, I want to talk to that one person right now who's feeling that tug of Jesus on their heart. That's like one of those feelings that every Christian has pretty much gone through. That tug basically means that God is reaching out to you right now, telling you that he wants you to join the family of God. That's what that tug means. And if you're feeling that tug, it is not something to be afraid of. In fact, it is usually the best choice that you can possibly make in your life to become a Christian and join the family of God. Now, I have never known anybody who's regretted that decision. And this is important to acknowledge. If you are saying maybe or not right now, that's still kind of a no, you know? So just so you're aware. Anyway, but if you're wondering how to say yes, how to engage this tugging, the way to do it is just basically talk to Jesus. Say, Jesus, I need you. The way I've been living my life isn't working right. I need you to step in and help me get this worked out. I want to live my life your way, not my way. I want to be the person that you've designed me to be. You say something like that to Jesus. Anything you say, you can say that you're sorry for the way you've been, you want to be better. Whatever it is, just speak from your heart. It's really simple. Just speak from your heart, talk to Jesus, because you want to start that relationship, and the way you start a relationship with anyone is talking to them. And if you did do that while watching this show, and or a rerun of this show or whatever, we'd really like to hear about it. So if you go to our website, radforchrist.com, that's RAD, the number 4, Christ.com, there's a form there called Got Saved. We would love for you to fill that form out so I can send you a Bible and a little gift to show you how pleased we are you joined the family of God. Also on the website, there is Ask a Question form. So if you have a question about the show or guests, the Bible, your math homework, whatever it is, we'd be happy to try and help. And then there's also a prayer request form. So if there's something you need help with, something that you want some reinforcement while you're talking to God, something that's in your life that's pretty challenging, let us know so that we can pray for you. Because you see, we are here to serve. And this is the most important part of all. And that's that Jesus Christ loves you. And so do I. Thank you for watching Radical Christianity. We will see you next week.
And I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.